Come on in and share with others. Come on. I'll turn my volume up. Let's make sure everything is in order. Y'all good this evening? Share, share, share. We got a lot to talk about. I actually need this computer. Y'all should see this setup I have. This is difficult to do considering I am not home, but this is important to me. And so if you're watching from YouTube, I'm looking at TikTok. So if my eyes, what's going on with my hair? Okay. But if my eyes are not on you, just listen to my voice because I'm talking to TikTok. But this is for our redundancy. It's also recording to my YouTube page. So come on in. Hey, everybody. And if you're not following, please go ahead and follow. Please do that. So Virginia is for lovers. Virginia is for lovers. Shoot me some hearts if you know what that means. Virginia is for lovers. Hello, hello, hello. Virginia is for lovers. Yes. Well, not a lot of y'all know what that means. Where does that idea, that saying, where does that come from? Have you ever seen a Virginia license plate? It's on a license plate. Virginia is for lovers. It is the tagline or motto for the state of Virginia. And tonight we're going to talk about it. Okay, we're going to talk about it tonight. So go ahead and do me a favor. If you're not following, please go ahead and follow. We have class on Thursday. We have our live class. And then we have, when I say our live class, we have our live lecture on Thursday. Monday, tomorrow, you're going to get, a video to prepare you for the lecture. But tonight, I just couldn't resist. I just could not resist. I needed to see y'all. I needed to spend time with y'all. So I was like, you know what, self? We're going to do a video because I am so excited about this. But first, I had to make sure I had that 9 to 5 taken care of. So I made sure I had everything in place for the workplace. And then I was like, you know what? You got this week ready for your full time. Now you can relax and you can be of service to the global community, right? To the global community and share tonight. So that's what I'm doing. So go ahead, follow if you're not following. If you want to enroll in the class, please do that. And the way you can do that is just go to my Instagram _ the pretty professor, _ the pretty professor. In the Instagram, there's some links. Just subscribe, bookmark those links, and you'll be good to go. Or you can inbox me and I'll tell you the same information. But this is my first live on TikTok. So just bear with me if I'm not as organized as you're familiar with others being. All right. Just go with me. Right. We learn as we go. We listen, we don't judge. So go ahead and be sure that you are following, that you're ready. So I'm going to give this like 30 more seconds and we're going to jump right on in. And like I said, tonight we're talking about what? The federal courts. All right. We're talking about the federal courts tonight, but we're going to start with that tagline, Virginia is for lovers. All right. I see you, Solani, Mommy. I'm here. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all for joining. Hi, David. Hi, Naya, Jasmine, Mandy, Shelby. Now, come on, Toxic Scorpio season. Christilla, Walter, all of you. Welcome, welcome, welcome. All right. So 30 seconds should be up. Let me get me a sip of water. You know, get water, drink out of glass water bottles, by the way. It's much better for the environment and for your body. All right. So, y'all ready? Let's go. Virginia is for lovers. Virginia is for lovers. Virginia is for lovers. Virginia is for lovers. No, I don't rap. But Virginia is for lovers. Do you know where that comes from? If you don't, I'm going to tell you anyway. But make sure you have your notebooks out. Let's make sure we have our notebooks out so we can take notes, okay? Make sure you have your notebooks out so you can take notes. Class is now in session. This is a bonus. Y'all are the ones, y'all are the overachievers because y'all are here in class before the official lecture day, which is Thursday. No. You don't have no exam, baby. You just here to learn. No exams. They don't pay me to grade, not on TikTok. But yes, come on in. Make sure you're following. Make sure you're ready. Have your notebook or your notes app on your phone. I don't know how you're gonna have your notes app and watch, but get your notebook or your laptop or what have you. And if you have to switch over, you can watch this on YouTube live. This is streaming live to my YouTube page, Pretty Petty Politics. So you can watch this live on YouTube if you need to use your phone. But let's go, right? Let's go. Let's get with it. So, Virginia is for lovers. That tagline that has been marketed by the state of Virginia, that is on their license plates throughout, yes, it's in the link, throughout the state of Virginia on their license plate. It is in the airports when you land at the various airports here in Virginia. You see, Virginia is for lovers. Where did that tagline come from? Why does it exist? It exists because there was a case called Loving versus Virginia. So that's what we're going to talk about tonight. We're going to start with Loving versus Virginia, but we're going to actually talk about our federal court system, not in full, but enough to get you all really engaged and get a feel for me. Yes, get a feel for my lecture style. Okay. I don't care about homework because I believe if you listen and you ask questions and you do your own reading, you'll learn, right? And you should be able to do that independently with some guidance from an expert or a professional like myself. All right. So Virginia is for lovers. That is our theme tonight, but that is also the tagline for the state of Virginia. I chose it because that's where I'm visiting. I'm in Virginia. So I was like, why not? And I thought about this when I landed. So if you watched my video from yesterday, you saw I was traveling. I was in the airport in Houston leaving. And I talked in the airport and on the plane and whatever. And I didn't tell y'all where I was going because it really ain't none of y'all business. But, I ain't shady, so I'm going to share. But when I landed, and I hadn't been to Virginia in a few years, but when I landed, I saw the love sign. And I just start chuckling. I was like, you know what, God, I know that is a sign. I need to teach that tomorrow. I don't need to wait till Thursday. So I'm going to give them a little bonus class. And so that's why we're here tonight. So Loving versus Virginia. Go ahead and put that on your notebook. Loving versus Virginia. It's spelled just the way it sounds. Loving versus Virginia. Loving versus Virginia. Loving versus Virginia is a civil rights era. Hear the word era, meaning the 1960s. It is a case from the 1960s. I believe the year is 1967, if I'm not mistaken. It might be 68, but I think it's 1967. You can check that by utilizing the link on the Instagram page, the OYEZ, OYEZ.org, OYEZ.org. Bookmark that, write it down. That is a website that you can use as a reference site to get information about the federal court cases, okay, to get information about federal court cases. In this course, we will utilize it quite often to look at Supreme Court cases, okay? We're going to use it to look at Supreme Court cases, particularly, baby, it's my first night on live. I don't know how to type that. Somebody else type it because I can't. It's too much for me. I do apologize. But Where was I? See, you threw me off. I ain't there yet. I'm Jack Jr. Jackier. Okay. Yeah, I'm not there yet. We listen, we don't judge. Don't judge me. But yeah, so you messed me up. But Oye is the website that we will use. I don't remember was it Y? E I don't remember. I can't even do my sign language letters no more. I'm gonna have to work on that tomorrow. But anyway, we OYEZ.org. Oh yay. OYEZ.org. That'll be the website that we will use regularly. And you can find it on my Instagram. There you go. Thank y'all. Thank y'all. Thank y'all. Each one teach one. Each one teach one. Everybody help out. Yeah. So that's the website that we will reference quite a bit to look at federal cases. So anytime I mention a case in here, it's typically going to be a federal case. Now, there may be some case studies that I use as examples that may be local to a state to illustrate something from the federal courts, like I'm going to do an exercise tonight like that. But in general, any cases I speak of will be federal. So if it's not a federal case, I'm going to tell you. But if it's a federal case, I'm just going to roll with it because that's what y'all should already expect. All right. So our case tonight, our big case is Loving versus Virginia. Loving versus Virginia. So this case is a landmark. When we have a landmark case, that means it marks the land and it changes the course of the law for the entire land. And it's the first case so significant of its nature, right? So Loving versus Virginia was a case that created, or not a case, the case that legalized and created the legality of interracial marriages in the United States. And how appropriate is a marriage case to have the name Loving, right? So Loving versus Virginia is about interracial marriage, right? Loving versus Virginia is about interracial marriage. And so you had two people in love. They had started a family here in the state of Virginia, and they wanted to be together. And the state of Virginia was like, the devil is a lie. And they were like determined to be a family. As a white man, I can't think of his name right now, and his wife's name was Mildred. I've taught this case for so long. You would think I would know these names by heart, but I want to say it's Robert. Man, you know what? I got my computer right here. Yeah. So Mildred and Richard. I was close. I had the R right. So Mildred Jeter and Richard Loving, they were in love and they had started a family. Black woman, white man, Black mixed race woman, because it depends on what you read about her. You may see that she was mulatto, she was mixed Black and Native, right? Which is very common here in Virginia. Y'all got to remember what Virginia is now. Again, I'm just in Virginia for this. I do not live in Virginia. But for the purpose of tonight's lecture, this is where I am. So I'm just going to keep it 100 for you. Yes. So Richard and Mildred, they were in love. And the state of Virginia was like, we don't play that. And so they traveled because they were threatened. They were threatened by authorities. Authorities was like, if y'all keep this up, we're going to throw y'all in jail. Like, y'all got to go. So they did. They left the state of Virginia and went just a little bit north to Washington, D.C. You got to understand, the state of Virginia is shaped like if you had a high heel and you turned it to the left, you faced it to the left, the state of Virginia is like shaped like that. So the northern part is very close to Washington, D.C., which is the District of Columbia. And so that's where you get the name DMV, because Maryland, D.C., and Virginia all kind of connect right there together. And so they traveled to Washington, D.C., and they stayed there for a little while. They got married, but it wasn't home. And they had them kids. It wasn't home. So you know what they did? They went back home, but they went back home as man and wife. And when they got home, they were arrested. They were thrown in jail. And you know what for? Because they live together. Imagine that you and your spouse got to go to jail just because y'all married. Y'all are two consenting grown adults, but y'all are arrested and put in jail because y'all cohabitated. And so Mildred was like, you know what? The devil is a lie. The devil is a liar. Yeah, 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 yeah. And so Virginia was like, I mean, not Virginia, Mildred was like, we're not doing this no more. And no, it was not during segregation, beloved. It was not. No, it was not. Now, see, this is why I'm supposed to read these comments. I'm supposed to just teach. Y'all are like folks raising their hand, talking during the lecture. Let me get through the lecture and y'all ask your questions. So it was like, you know what? Not gonna stand for this. We're suing. And so she reached out to the attorney general's office. Attorney general's office connected her. At the time, it was Robert Kennedy, and connected her with some civil liberties and civil rights attorneys. So these are attorneys who do civil cases, not criminal cases, but civil cases. So they connected her with civil attorneys. All right. And so they sued the state of Virginia. You can't sue a state in regular court. You only can do it in federal court when you have a federal claim. And so what they claimed was, can y'all guess? Anybody who's been following me just these few days, y'all probably already know what was one of the things that they claimed. What was one of the amendments do you think they claimed? Go ahead and tell me. What was one of the amendments you think they claimed in their argument, right? What was one of the amendments you think they claimed in their argument for their right to be married as they sued the state of Virginia? That's right. Y'all been paying attention. I told you that is the most argued case in federal court. All right. Loving versus Virginia. But something's wrong with my computer. Okay. So, yes, that is correct. They use the 14th Amendment. Now, if you've been following along, what part of the 14th Amendment do you think they raise? What part of the 14th Amendment do you think they raise? Anybody? Anybody want to take a guess? What part of the 14th Amendment do you think they raise? I'll go ahead and tell you. It was the Equal Protection Clause. The Equal Protection Clause. Matter of fact, let me pause a second. Y'all see this sweatshirt I'm wearing? So even though I am traveling, I am in Virginia, but I'm repping Houston. This is a gray tape sweatshirt. Y'all see it? Legend, right? Self-made somewhere on here. But this is Lil Keke, a Houston legend. Lil Keke's brand. So just shout out to Houston. Always on the go, but never far from home. It's always in my heart. Houston is. All right. So Virginia was sued by the Lovings, right? That was so random of me, but I like this sweatshirt. I like this hoodie. But Virginia was sued by the Lovings based on their law about miscegenation, right? That's a legal terminology for interracial marriage, okay? And so I'm going to read what Oye has as the facts just to give you a little surmise. In 1958, two residents of Virginia, Mildred Jeter, a Black woman, and Richard Loving, a white man, were married in the District of Columbia. The Lovings returned to Virginia shortly thereafter. The couple was then charged with violating the state's anti-miscegenation statute, which banned interracial marriages. The Lovings were found guilty and sentenced to a year in jail. The trial judge agreed to suspend the sentence if the Lovings would leave Virginia and not return for 25 years. What kind of foolishness is that? I won't put y'all in jail for a year if y'all leave your home state and all your family and not return to your home state, your home, for 25 years. And so she was like, what? And they sued. They sued. They did, just as they should. And so the question asked of the court is, did somebody FaceTiming me? Did Virginia's anti-miscegenation law violate the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment? All right. So I am going to read that to you. Y'all already know it's my favorite, but I got to give it to you because it's going to get in y'all bones. Section 1, Amendment 14, Section 1. All persons born, so we got two people, persons, born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof. Clearly, they were subject to the jurisdiction because they got arrested, they went to trial. See where I'm going? So clearly, they were subject to the jurisdiction thereof. Are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they resided. So they were citizens. Now they were certainly citizens, right? And they were residents of the state of Virginia. So they were citizens of the United States who were residents of the state of Virginia. And so they were subject to the jurisdiction of Virginia. The next sentence says, no state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge. Now I told you abridge. What does abridge mean? We talked about it in a video just a couple of days ago. Abridge means to diminish. So a state can't make any law that will diminish the privileges and immunities of citizens of the U.S. All right. A state cannot make any laws which diminishes the privileges and immunities of citizens here in the United States. Semicolon. All right. So that's the second thing, right? First, you got citizenship is established. Then you got privileges and immunities. Let's see what else is unpacked in this first section of the 14th Amendment, because we haven't quite gotten to what the Lovings used as their reason to justify their lawsuit against the state of Virginia. So here we go. Number 3, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. So that's 3. Now we got another semicolon. Y'all ready? We got 3 and we got a semicolon. We haven't heard our phrase yet. Nor deny to any person. So this talking to states, by the way. Nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction. So Virginia, you cannot deny to any person within your jurisdiction the equal protections of the laws. 14th Amendment, y'all, is strong. It's your Wheaties. It's like your granny telling you, eat all your vegetables first, right? It's that high protein. It makes you stronger, right? It's getting enough rest at night. It makes you stronger, right? The 14th Amendment makes each of us citizens and persons present in these United States have a stronger case, right? Because we're going to talk about the 14th. I'm going to always talk about the 14th Amendment, y'all. I've been talking about it for years. It's my favorite. It needs to be everyone's favorite because I ain't supposed to tell y'all this, but it's being threatened. It's being threatened. I'm just, okay. But the 14th Amendment, so Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment provides that no state can deny not just citizens, but it says any person. Now, why do y'all think that? Let's stop right there. Why do you think in 1866, June of 1866, shout out to my dentist because my teeth look good. That good, that twice a year clean. I just got that cleaning last month. But anyway, just making sure y'all awake, so hopefully that made y'all giggle a little bit. But anyway, I'm not trying to be vain, although I do like my face. But why do you think in June of 1866 that the members of the United States Congress, that's our House of Representatives, It's the chamber based on population, because I ain't taught that to y'all yet. I expect y'all to know it. I'll teach it to you, but I'm just saying the House of Representatives based on population, right? And the U.S. Senate, that's our other chamber of Congress, made up of equal representation. So my left hand has the same as my right hand. So this is one state, this is a state. They both have two. Every state in the union has 2 senators, and then they have representatives based on population. So, all right, we're going to talk about that. That's going to be a long live. That might have to be a 2-part. But why do you think in 1866, in June of 1866, that Congress, both chambers, that's the only way you get an amendment. Well, not the only way. That is the first step to the only way that you get an amendment. It's the first step. The first step is Congress, both chambers, must pass it through both chambers. They put it together, confer, matchy, right? So Congress passed it June of 1866. But why do you think that Congress put that language in? Congress didn't just say citizens. They were very intentional in 1866. Without the Googles, without the AI, without all the social media, without the internet, without telephones, cell phones. Like, why do you think in 1866 they decided to use that specific language? Because they could have just left it as citizens, right? They could have just left it as citizens. But it's twice, right? Twice in section 1 that is specifically talking about any person in addition to citizens. The first time it comes up is after that first semicolon. So when they talk about due process is not just reserved for citizens. Due process is reserved for both citizens and persons in the United States. And guess what? Equal protection of the law is too. Now, I done got away from loving because I just need to make sure y'all understand this, right? So the 14th Amendment, section 1, I need y'all to learn it. I don't know if y'all Black and grew up in a Baptist church like I did. We used to have Easter and Christmas speeches. That's where we get our oratorical skills. You had to memorize a few sentences and say it in front of the whole congregation. I need y'all to learn section 1 of the 14th Amendment like that. All right. Unlikely firefly, that is incorrect, my love. Unlikely firefly, that is incorrect, my love. That's miseducation there, but I'm going to teach you something. Just stick with me, all right? All persons. Don't y'all forget that. Because there's going to be a lot of things that y'all going to hear, but y'all better know what's in that Constitution. And you better get a copy. Get yourself a physical copy. Get yourself a physical copy. You can print it. You can literally print it. You can print it from the U.S. Senate's website. You can print it from the National Archives. And these are free. These are free. And you know what? I'm going to get some copies and I'm going to make them available. How about that? Because everybody needs one. All right? We need them. Whatever your favorite book is, put that Constitution right next to it. And it's short. It's not a long document, y'all. It's not as long as you think it is. People make it seem like it's all long outdated. It really ain't that long. And it really wasn't that long ago that it was written. Y'all act like this country real old. It's not. It's 249 years old this year, September 17th. September 17th. Okay? It'll be 249 years old. It's 248 years old right now. Now, we know it has a history as it developed before it was formalized, but in itself, 1776. All right? 1776. Okay. So let's get back to Loving versus Virginia. Let's not forget about Mildred and Richard Loving. So Mildred and Richard Loving, when Mildred, men, get yourself a good wife. Get you somebody who got some sense, something on her head, something on her neck, some good sense. She can be pretty all day because I'm pretty all day. But make sure she got some sense, because this woman not only loved this man, but she was like, you know what? The hell with what they talking about. What's her name? What's the singer name? Stand by your man. Mildred stood by hers, right? Mildred was about that life. Mildred stood by her husband. She stood up for her family and other families, many families that you and I know. How many of you know a family that is made up of an interracial marriage? How many of you have interracial marriages in your family? Some of you watching this are products of interracial marriages. Some of you may be in an interracial marriage, and you have Mildred and Richard to thank for it. Yeah, Mildred and Richard, because they had the audacity, and that's what we have to have. We have to have the audacity to fight for ourselves, to speak up for ourselves, to know we have rights and privileges and what they are, right? To know that we have protections, but also what they are. Because you know what I hear people say, I know my rights. Well, what are they? What are they? Can you share? You know you have them, but can you communicate them? Because when it's time to utilize your rights, you got to be able to communicate them, not just know you have them. I know I got some money in the bank, but do I know my bank account number? Do I know my debit card number? Do I even know what my debit card is? Do I know what my bank is? Because knowing you have something and not really knowing how to access it, that's a problem. So, 14th Amendment, Equal Protection Clause. Now, someone's going to come across this and be like, I don't agree. And that's okay. You don't have to. I agree. And all the education behind me agrees too. All right. So Mildred and Richard, they go to the Supreme Court. They ask the Supreme Court, does this law created in Virginia violate the 14th Amendment? Does this anti-miscegenation, this anti-interracial marriage law, this law, I mean, like lawmakers, state legislators came up with this law, and some governor in Virginia signed it into law that there would be no interracial marriage. And then here comes Mildred and Richard, and they're like, nah, bruh, we suing. And so they sued, and they were successful. And so the court ruled unanimously, all 9 justices. And now we're about to get into our lecture for the night. See, that was just a warm up. Loving versus Virginia was just a warm up. But all 9 justices, all 9 justices unanimously agreed with the Loving, saying, yes, you damn right, this law violates the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. Right? All 9 unanimously. The court held that distinctions drawn according to race generally odious to a free people and were subject to the most rigid scrutiny. We're going to talk about scrutinies later. There are 3 scrutinies. I kind of mentioned them previously, but I'm going to really get into them. But it did violate the Equal Protection Clause. The Virginia law, the court found, had no legitimate purpose. It was not a legitimate purpose to support it. All right? Independent of racism. This is the Supreme Court saying this. Supreme Court is saying, independent of racial discrimination, there is no legitimate purpose. The only purpose of this dumbass law is to discriminate racially against people who choose to marry somebody of a different race, to discriminate against people who want to be interracially married. All right. The court rejected the state's argument. So the state argument, right? The court rejected the state's argument that the statute was legitimate because it applied equally to Blacks and whites, and found that racial classifications were not subject to a rational purpose test under the 14th Amendment. Again, we're going to talk about the 3 types of scrutiny, but not tonight. I'd be taking y'all too fast if we talked about that tonight. The court also held the Virginia law violated the Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment. Oh, so not only is it the Equal Protection Clause, right, number 4, but it's also number 3, because due process is life, Let me read it to you. Make sure I get it right for you. Life, liberty, or property without due process of law. Now, there's another amendment that talks about due process, Amendment 5, and we'll talk about that. But in the 14th, when they talk about due process, they're talking about the states can't deny. All right. 1 through 10, think federally, right? 1 through 10, think federally. When you get to 14th acts like, y'all ever ate some pineapple? By the way, I'm going to always use food as an example. I love food. I wrote a recipe book. Like, that's what I do. That's the other side of me. Y'all gonna get to see that, right? But think of a pineapple. Pineapples are sweet, but they're also sticky, right? Right? And so due process is sweet. Due process is sweet. Now, if you're the victim or the victim's family, you may not feel that way. But just like you can be a victim or the victim's family, you can also be the accused. And as an accused, especially if you're innocent, you're gonna want some due process. All right. So we can't think of this thing one sided. We got to look at both sides, right? So think of a pineapple. The 14th Amendment is like a pineapple. It's sweet. It's good for us as citizens. It's good for us as persons under the jurisdiction of a state, because somebody could be visiting or a student from another country, someone on vacation, but you can be a person under the jurisdiction of the law of a state, and you need your right to due process, right? Otherwise, they just throw you in jail and throw away the key. No trial, none of that, right? Got it? So due process, or the 14th Amendment, the 14th Amendment is sticky like a pineapple. It's good for us because pineapples are rich in nutrients. Like if you ever feel like you're about to have a cold, you eat some fresh pineapple, it'll help you with that mucus, right? And that all the vitamins in pineapples, right? But pineapples are sticky. So think of the residue, the stickiness of a pineapple. It sticks to Amendments 1 through 10 and makes them applicable to the states. Because remember, I told you 1 through 10, that's federal. Those are things that the federal government can't do, so to speak, right? But the 14th comes in and it's like, skirt, and it sticks to it. So now all those things in 1 through 10 are now applicable to all the states. Okay, they're now applicable to all the states. And that's why the language is so specific in the 14th Amendment, the way it's written, the way it was written and voted on and passed through the House of Representatives and the U.S. Senate by June of 1866. But pause, let me tell you something else about this 14th Amendment. And then it was ratified by 3/4 of the states in July of 1868. So in 2 years, it was ratified. Now, you're going to hear me talk about amendments. I did a video last Saturday on the 28th Amendment, and I talk about how long it takes for an amendment to be ratified. Some get ratified rather quickly, and I'm here to tell you 2 years is rather quickly. The 27th Amendment was passed in 1789, but not ratified until 1992. It takes time. So it lost its number. It wasn't supposed to be number 27, but by the time it came around the ratification, the next number was 27. So the fact that the 14th Amendment not only passed through Congress, y'all got to remember what was going on in this country, right? In this country, we were in Reconstruction. This is right after the Civil War, right? 1866, 1867, 1868. 1868 is when the 14th Amendment was ratified. That's when it became applicable. Okay. And so the court, anytime you hear me say the court, 9 times out of 10, I'm referring to the Supreme Court. Anytime you read the court, when you're reading it and it says the court and the C is capitalized, right? Anytime you're reading the court and the C is capitalized, that means the writer is referring to the Supreme Court. Okay, that means the writer is referring to the Supreme Court. All right, so the court also held that Virginia's law violated the due process clause of the 14th Amendment. Under our Constitution, wrote Chief Justice Earl Warren, y'all heard me talk about him before, the freedom to marry or to not marry a person of another race resides with the individual. That's my choice, not yours, state of Virginia. That's my choice. And cannot be infringed by whom? The state, and state capitalized. All right. Cannot be infringed. That means cannot be taken away, cannot be restricted from the person because the state don't like it. The state can't tell you who you can marry when it comes to race. Now, it can be some protection, statutory laws, like when it comes to underage, your grown behind ain't about to marry no 10-year-old because the state has an interest in protecting the youth. See how I'm going? But consenting adult, bruh. All right. So this is the Supreme Court in 1967. June of 1967. This was the decision that was released in June of 1967. I will tell you that just as an aside, because we're going to look at a lot of cases in this course, when the Supreme Court hears a case, it can happen anytime during session, like when they're hearing cases. But generally, not all the time, but generally, probably 8 out of 10 times, their decisions on the cases that they've heard, their decisions will come out between May and late June. Now, I told y'all I like food, but I'll also tell you this, I love basketball. So, NBA finals is usually in June. I call this the bonus finals because I like the way the court be swinging and throwing. The court be coming with them decisions. I don't always agree with them. Sometimes I'll be like, what y'all doing, bro? What y'all doing? But it's always right after the NBA season, right? So it starts like around playoffs and it concludes after NBA season. All right. So generally May through late June, you start hearing decisions. Sometimes you'll get a couple of decisions in late April, but generally May through June, you get bigger decisions. Okay. So Loving versus Virginia is about interracial marriage. And that is our introduction to class tonight. So y'all ready to learn? So class is about to start. I don't know what time it is. Somebody tell me what time it is. Okay. It's 11 o'clock. I had 45 good minutes of warm up. So now let's get into it. So the United States court system, our federal courts, are provided to us under 3 ways, but the main way, which we're going to focus on tonight, is under Article 3 of the Constitution. Okay. Article 3 of the Constitution. All right. Article 3 of the Constitution. So if this is your first time joining any of my videos, let me just go ahead and give you a quick refresher. And for those who've been here in one of my videos before, this is my first live, y'all. So just bear with me. I'm going to get it together. But let me just tell you this. The Constitution is structured. I want you to understand the structure. So the structure is we have 7 articles. 7 articles. That's the Constitution, the 7 articles. All right. So we have the legislature, the executive and judicial branches. Article 4 is like federalism, the way states relate to one another. Article 5 is amendments, right? We just talked about my favorite amendment. Article 6 is debts and supremacy. And Article 7 is ratification. Okay. 7 articles. That's the Constitution. So you got your preamble, right? We the people, right? Y'all know that? Y'all remember learning that? Some of you had to learn that. All right. So the preamble, the 7 articles. After the 7 articles, we have what? Amendments. Okay. Amendments. And so let's look at those amendments. Well, let me back up. Before the amendments, we have the signers of the Constitution. All right. Those are our framers. So anytime I'm teaching and I do this like rectangle thing, I'm doing the framers. I'm talking about the people who actually drafted the Constitution. All right. Drafted the Constitution. All right. And I'm going to talk about, there's going to be a lecture I'm going to call probably in about a week or so. I'm going to put up a video, like an announcement that I'm going to have a lecture, and it's going to talk about the foundation, right? It's going to talk about the foundation, but that ain't tonight. All right. Tonight, we're just talking about the court. So Article 3. All right. So we got 7 articles, the signers. So we got preamble, 7 articles, the signers, and then we have the amendments. Amendments are, I have vision, right? Got vision. Put on my glasses. Well, I can really see. It makes things clear, right? Amendments are additions. It's an addition to, right? And once they are ratified, they pretty tight. Now, can amendments be thrown out? Yes, they can. Is it hard? Yes, it is. Thank you, Lord. It's hard to do that because Lord knows, we would be in a world of trouble, especially right now if it was easy to get rid of them. But it's important for y'all to know how this process works in order to protect them. All right. So don't nobody have to FAFO around here. All right. So 7 articles, signers, amendments. Okay. The amendments. Okay. The amendments come after the articles. The articles are the Constitution. You saw me do this earlier. The articles are the Constitution. The amendments are an addition to. All right. Think of my ring finger as the Constitution. This ring is amending. All right. All right. It belongs here. All right. But we can work. We can kind of resist taking it off, right? You see, I'm bending it, so it's hard time coming across my knuckle. But if we ain't paying attention, we get relaxed, the thing will slide right off. You don't let them snatch your rights. Don't let them snatch them amendments. Because some of these amendments we need, y'all, all of them. But some of these amendments they want to take away from us. Don't you let them. Y'all better be strong. Y'all better let them FAFO. Okay, so Article 3. Let me get serious because it is late. Article 3 of the Constitution deals with the federal courts. So Article 1, so y'all know the 3 branches. Y'all ever knew why that when you learn, like when you're in grade school and they're like, the 3 branches of government are legislative, executive, and judicial, and they always tell you in that order. The reason why they tell you in that order is because that is the order that they are presented in the Constitution. So Article 3 is dealing with the judicial branch. The judicial branch includes our Supreme Court, as well as our district courts and our Court of Appeals. All right. Now, I want you to write down, we have circuits. We have circuits. If you're taking notes, I want you to put, we have circuits. All right. And then I want you to Google or write on your notes. I'm going to Google the Federal Circuit Court map. And I'm going to go over this with y'all. Y'all tell me what state y'all live in, and that'll help me provide this to you a little bit quicker. But tell me what state y'all live in, because some of them I know off the top of my head. And if you want a website to look, I see New York, I see Virginia, Arizona, Pennsylvania. Okay. Florida, you're in the 11th Circuit. Texas, you're in the 5th Circuit. Mississippi, you're in the 5th Circuit. No. Yeah, Mississippi, you're in the 5th Circuit. Virginia, I forget what circuit Virginia's in. Hold on. Virginia, you're in the 4th Circuit. New York, you're in the 2nd Circuit. So let's talk about them. So in general, we have 11 circuits, right? In general, there are some additional, and I'm going to talk about those. But in general, we have 11 circuits. The largest in land is the 9th Circuit. The 9th Circuit includes California, Nevada, Arizona, Idaho, Oregon, Washington, and Montana. Okay. Yeah. Okay. The Fifth Circuit is Texas, Louisiana, and Mississippi. That is so the Ninth Circuit is one of our most liberal circuits. The Fifth Circuit is one of our most conservative circuits. Now, the 11th Circuit used to kind of be in between the two, but it's still kind of in between the two, but it's more conservative than not. But every good once in a while, it does surprise us and gives us a very fair ruling, not too liberal, not too conservative, but very fair ruling. All right. And the 11th Circuit is Alabama, Georgia, Florida. All right. The Sixth Circuit is Michigan, Ohio, Kentucky, and Tennessee. The Fourth Circuit is West Virginia, Maryland, Virginia, North Carolina, and South Carolina. The Third Circuit is Delaware, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania. The Second Circuit is Connecticut, Vermont, Massachusetts. I always have to point up for Vermont. I've been doing this since like elementary school. And then the First Circuit is Maine, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island. All right. I think I got that right. Okay. The Eighth Circuit is the middle of the U.S. It's the mid-wet. Well, the Eighth Circuit is like those states. The Eighth and 10th Circuits are those states where when you look at a map, you'd be like, why is it so red? And nobody lives there. So I want y'all to look up, you go to this website, Democracy Docket, and just look at where it says, because this is what I use in class with my students. The U.S. Court System Explained. I have this bookmarked on my computer, on both my computers. The U.S. Court System Explained, and that's Democracy Docket. I'll also throw that link up on my page for you. But look at that article. And that's what I'm going to kind of use as a guide as far as the visual aids, because they have really good visual aids. So we have district courts. These are our trial courts, okay? We have district courts. We're talking federal court, right? We're not talking about your state court, your Harris County courthouse, downtown Houston. We're talking about the federal courthouse that's in downtown Houston. That's the one where you go when you're suing a corporation that has its home office in a different state. That's where you sue. You may bring a lawsuit against the state. It has to start in federal court. You may be suing for, oh, this is a good one. When I worked for the city attorney's office, there was this case. I got to tell this story. Y'all can look it up. I'm not going to name no names, but y'all can look it up. It might be somewhere for y'all to find it. But there was this case. I have to tell you this. This guy, a businessman, this is in Alabama. That's the only thing I'm going to tell y'all. It's in the biggest city in Alabama. All right. That's all I can give you. But this guy, he forgot his, what do you call it, on a safe, the combination to his safe. So he took it to a locksmith, right? He took it to a locksmith and he left. You know, he knew it was in his safe, but he forgot the combination. And so he took it to this locksmith and he went on about his business. You know, here's my number, call me when you get back. All three of them, Kyla can't be the biggest, but the first one is, so Birmingham. And so he left, went about his business. When he came back to get his safe, unbeknownst to him, the owner or the person running the locksmith shop was a former PD, police officer. And so when he saw what was inside, he came to the conclusion that this had to do with some narcotics, that this had to be illegal property. And so he called it into the police. All right, Walter. All right, you following along. So he called it into the police. And this is something that happens in cities all over the country. And this next part. So oftentimes local law enforcement will be deputized. I wish I had a hat to put on, but oftentimes local officers are deputized as federal agents, meaning just for this investigation or for this special task force, not only are you your local PD, or your local constable or your local sheriff's department, for this task force, you're now a part of the DEA, or you're now a part of the U.S. Marshals. And I could tell y'all all kind of cases. I can give y'all all kind of cases like this because this is what I did the bulk of my research when I worked for the city attorney's office. But this guy, when he returns, that, they called the police or whatever. And so when the police came, they came as PD, but they also had some that showed up as deputized officers. So they were like task force. And so when they seized the property, the dinero, when they seized that cash, even though they're 9 to 5, they were PD. When they seized that cash, they seized it through the U.S. Marshal seizure process. And so they processed it federally. All right. They processed it federally. So he sued. He sued. Now, which court do you think he sued in? You think he sued it in the state court of Alabama for Jefferson County, Alabama? Or do you think he filed his suit in the... So you think he sued in the district court of Alabama for Jefferson County? Or do you think he sued in the district court for the U.S. federal government in Alabama? That's right. He sued federally. Now, that's all I'm going to say about that case. Right? That's all I'm going to say about that case. But I'm giving examples. Here's another case. I didn't work on that case. I did some research for it, but I didn't work on that case. The case I did work on. And I won because that was my job to win. Shout out to that. But here's another case. This guy, the law enforcement, the PD, they went and got a warrant from a local judge, right? They got a local warrant, not a federal warrant. And they were on a drug task force. Now, these are PD officers, but who are on a task force. So, for the warrant, I'm local. For the task force, I'm federal. So they run up in that thing and they seized, let's say they seized $150,000. Let's just say it's $150,000. I don't remember the amount right off the top of my head, but let's just say it was $150,000. I'm telling the story, but I'm changing the story for you all. So they seize it. He's prosecuted through state court. He's sentenced to state prison, right? For the drugs, the guns, and the money. All right. And he's prosecuted, he's sentenced. But the money, the drugs, and the guns are used in state court for his prosecution. But the money is processed federally. The money is processed federally. Again, through the U.S. Marshal, because that's how it'll be another lecture. We have to talk about the U.S. Marshal and all of that. But anyway, shout out to U.S. Marshals, though, especially the ones who be on the planes with us. Thank you for keeping us safe. Let me just keep it 100 with y'all. Now, I'm not about to play with y'all. But later, while he was in prison, he learned about asset forfeiture laws. And so he hired an attorney, and that attorney sued the city for his asset being forfeited illegally. That was their claim. They had to face little old young me, baby, little young, fresh new kid on the block. And I was hungry, so all I did was research it. Plus, I used to be a real big people pleaser, so I wanted to really make my boss proud of me, because my boss was also my evidence professor when I was in law school. So I really had big shoes to fill, and I really wanted to make him feel very encouraged about his hire. And so I did all this research, and I couldn't find any laws for... Which circuit did I tell you Alabama was in? The 11th Circuit. I couldn't find any laws strong enough for us in the 11th Circuit, But I did rely on some cases that came out of the Eighth Circuit, right? I found some cases that came out of the Eighth Circuit and out of the Sixth Circuit. One in particular was an Ohio case, and I was able to um, argue proficiently, but I didn't even have to argue that well. Let me just keep it 100, because no judge is about to give this convicted, guilty drug dealer back no money that was seized. Ain't no judge about to do that in no corner of this country. I'm just gonna keep it 100 with y'all. So I knew I was gonna win, but I also needed to win by arguing properly, not just because ain't no judge gonna get the money. But it's very important to understand how where to sue, where to sue, because you can sue in the wrong court. Your claim may be federal, but you're sitting here arguing in state court. Or your claim might be state and you're arguing in federal court. So it's very important that you and your attorney, particularly your attorney, my God, knows where to file your claim. And don't y'all ever be so just badass you just think you can represent yourself. You can't. You can't. You can't. So don't. All right. But anyway, a federal court system is such that you have the right to pursue liberty and justice for yourself. So even though he was incarcerated, he had a right to sue because it was his money. It was. Now, how he got it, but it was his money. It was his money. All right. It was his money. No. It should have been because of that Beauty's in Bloom. And that's what I had to argue that at the time of the seizure, they were not acting as X, they were acting as Y. And then the plaintiff's attorney, because I was on the defense, because we were being sued, the plaintiff's attorney was like, hold on, y'all. Okay. The plaintiff's attorney, I'm about to wrap this up. The plaintiff's attorney was like, well, yeah, they might have had on that hat, but the warrant says, and this is important, the warrant tells you when you get a warrant, the warrant tells you the fruit of the search must be returned to this court. All right. So when someone gets a search warrant, whatever's collected in that search must be returned to the court, not to the judge's desk or bench per se, but to that jurisdiction. It must be turned in to the county. All right. You can't just get a search warrant and then process it a different way. It should be returned because that's what the warrant says. And if we had a little bit more lenient, not so traditional judge in that case, someone who did not have years on the bench and well respected because of his tenure, that could have went another way because his argument was legitimate. The other attorney, shout out to him, a brother from Montgomery, Alabama, Reed. It's a great case. Okay, now let's talk about these courts right quick. We talked about Levin versus Virginia federal court case. I want you to know that we have 11 circuits. We have 11 circuits, but we also have 2 additional circuits. So we have a federal circuit and we have the DC circuit. The DC circuit is only for the District of Columbia because you have to remember DC is not a state. It's not a state. And we're going to talk about this too. DC is ran by Congress because it's a territory of the United States. And if you read the Constitution, you read Article 4 of the Constitution, you'll understand that Congress has authority over territories. That's why it's a federal crime. Like if you're at Yellowstone and you shoot a bear because that's federal property. Congress is over that. So DC falls under the DC circuit. It doesn't fall under one of the numbered circuits. It is its own circuit. With the federal courts, and I will pick up on this later, with the federal courts, you will find that in different parts of the country, different things can come out of federal court. So let's use a current event, and then we're going to close out for tonight. So here's our current event. Last week, there was an executive order that President Donald Trump signed an executive order. And if you don't know what executive order is, go back and watch. I got a video up about it. But he signed an executive order about birthright citizenship. And there's a judge out of the Ninth Circuit that got that case. This judge has been on the bench since the 80s. He's a Reagan appointee, right? And that judge is like, this is so unconstitutional. I ain't never seen something so unconstitutional as this. And he looked at the prosecutor, the state, the federal government's attorney, and was like, you really brought this into my courtroom? Now, notice I said that was a Reagan appointee, so he was a conservative appointee. And so when that judge gave his decision, that put in a TRO, a temporary restraining order, on that executive order. Now, of course, President Trump's Justice Department will appeal that, right? And so we'll see that play out in the courts. But that's what our federal courts do. Even though the president signed it, a federal judge can stop it with a restraining order, a temporary restraining order. Just like you have TROs in domestic violence cases and all that stuff, you have TROs in federal court that can stop something from going into effect. We saw that in the state of Louisiana, when the state of Louisiana wanted to put the 10 Commandments in every classroom. A federal judge in the Fifth Circuit, very conservative circuit, right? A federal judge said, TRO, temporary restraining order. We're not going to move forward on this. We're going to hold this right now, right? So executive orders can be refused to be funded by Congress if funding is tied to it. It can be restrained with a restraining order by the courts, or in some cases, the Supreme Court can reverse it or throw it out. And that has happened only 5 times to an executive order, although executive orders have been made by presidents since George Washington was president. So it's not uncommon for presidents to create executive orders. And that comes through Article 2, which is the executive branch, Article 2 of the Constitution. We'll talk more about the courts. I know I have been very long-winded, and this video is they about to kick me out. So I enjoyed y'all. I hope this was good for y'all. Make sure you're following. Make sure you follow. Make sure you follow. Make sure you follow. Make sure you follow. I might go live tomorrow. I know I have a video I'm going to share tomorrow on YouTube, so be sure to catch that. I'm going to interview someone. We're going to talk about the things that are happening with the Air Force. So I got a retired lieutenant colonel that I'm going to be on YouTube with. Thursday, I have not decided the time for Thursday's class, but it will be recorded. It will probably be in the morning on Thursday, probably around 9:30, 10 o'clock. All right. Love you guys. Peace out. Thank you for the follows. Make sure you follow. Make sure you like. Make sure you share. Make sure you tell a friend. And any of my videos, share with your friends who aren't on TikTok. Everyone deserves to get some information. And again, make sure you're reading the Constitution. Make sure you're not afraid of it. Make sure you get into it. But come back. I'm gonna be here as long as this app allows me to be here. But even if this app goes down, that's why you need to go to my Instagram _ the pretty professor. Follow there, so that I know y'all running away from Meta, but follow there. And then it'll direct you to my YouTube and other places. I'm setting up a Substack too. All right. Peace out. I hope y'all are good. Be safe. Hope you enjoyed it. All right. I'm gonna stay here as long as till they shut me out. But thank y'all. This is great. This is really good. Hope you enjoyed it. Tomorrow I'll pick up on this. I'll pick up on this tomorrow for sure. So come back for part 2. What time y'all want to come back tomorrow? What time? We're gonna come back. We're gonna talk about courts more. I'm not done with this. I just got excited. I was feeling good. I got into my rhythm. If you missed it, you can catch it on YouTube. It'll be on YouTube for a playback. Pretty Petty Politics on YouTube. Y'all want evening? I can't do even. I got a couple of meetings. Y'all know I do community stuff. I got a couple of meetings. I got to be on Zooms. Let's do around 1:30 Eastern time. All right, 1:32. And trust me, it's gonna be recorded to YouTube. I'm gonna live stream. I got a whole MacBook right here to my left recording this as a stream. So you'll be able to pick that up and review it. All right. So about 1:30, 2 o'clock, I will put up an announcement, a calendar thing on my TikTok. So y'all can catch it. All right. Good night for real. Now, how do I stop this? Thank y'all for my first live, by the way. I'm appreciative, you know. I appreciate y'all just like you appreciate me. So, but I got to end this live. Good night. Oh,